Hello, classmates. Today we are talking about George Whitefield. And if you haven't read up on him, this dude literally brought free thinking into America. He landed in Lewistown, Pennsylvania on October 30th, 1739. He was locked, loaded, ready to bring us a new spiritual birth to America. He came armed, ready with some of his favorite readings from Benjamin Jenks, John Flavel, and Isaac Watts. He also had over 100 of his own printed materials as well. Sermons, whatnots, had them in cartoon form. He was ready to roll. His motivation and preparedness to start a new religious discourse was well underway before he even stepped foot on American soil. This movement would later be known as the Great Awakening. As Whitefield traveled from different towns, witnesses stated and attested to the fact that crowds would just materialize out of nowhere. Hundreds, thousands of people would literally come out and listen to this guy's sermons and listen to him talk. And not just supporters, he also set up instances where his supporters and non-supporters could get together and debate one another about their differences and beliefs, which is where we get the notion or the start of our free thinking from. As he traveled around from town to town, and he literally went over 5,000 miles all up and down the coast of America to preach and read his sermons. His attendance kept growing. In New York City, he had 8,000 people show up, 12,000 people in Philadelphia, and he had 25,000 people show up in Boston. That's crazy. Now you're thinking, this is what, 1740, 25,000 people showing up? It's like a Trump rally for this guy. It's crazy. Whitefield was smart, though. He made sure he had writings, he printed out his information, and he gave it to the people that showed up. So people kept talking about him long after he left the towns. And this would drive some of the old school clergymen crazy. There was not complete support for the way that George Whitefield was doing things. This was all new. This was allow people to think for themselves, think about religion on their own terms, and the way that they interpreted the Lord and the Bible and different writings, which was totally opposite of traditional thought. Before this, is you went to church and you worshipped and you believed the way that they told you to. And this was completely different. Not only did he do that, but he also made sure that he mailed copies of his sermons to some of the most prominent ministers in these towns as well, to reiterate his message to the people. Newspapers were also printing testimonials from personal accounts from Whitefield's sermons. Not only that, Whitefield himself made sure he threw in articles telling people of how great he was. Without a doubt, George Whitefield was literally the first rock star in America. Even after his death, his writings were used for many arguments, for pro and anti-slavery, pro and anti-revivalism, and it also helped gain the support and increase the enthusiasm for the American Revolution. For this reason, George Whitefield, many people or many scholars have said that he is the forgotten founding father. His sermons, the way he taught people to think for themselves, to have independent thinking, was what transformed this country into what we see today. Well, maybe not today, because today's a little messed up. But when we first formed our country, this dude right here, he is what gave people the encouragement. He is what gave people the confidence to be able to turn against Great Britain and say, hey, it's time for us to be on our own. We can do this on our own. We can think on our own, and we don't need you to help. It was great talking to everybody in the class. I'm set up like this because I do a podcast every week or so. So I'm not new to this type of thing. I really enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys later. See you on the discussion board.